Imperial College and a winner of numerous prizes in the deanery and medical school. He's the founder of the Innovation Forum, and he's been awarded numerous prizes by it. He's worked through the foundation years to enable others at the front line of the NHS to take control and become leaders. Mohammed has participated in numerous global conferences and co-authored the Amazon bestseller SJT book. He has postgraduate studies in leadership, but has always believed you learn primarily from experience. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Mohammed.
I mean, I felt safe at one point, you know, felt warm, felt loved, had a career, had money, had my health, and then I realized something was missing. And no matter how much I inhaled, it wouldn't fill. There was a heaviness on my chest. No matter how much I loosened my clothes, it wouldn't fade. There was kind of this drowsiness of focus. And trust me, no matter how much I slept, it just wouldn't regain. It was this lack of feeling full joy for what happens. And no matter how much I celebrated, it wouldn't feel the same. I had something missing. And I really wanted to know the answer. No. I had to know the answers. Respected guests, on behalf of the Medical Leadership Society, Inspirational Start, and my very overly established experienced speakers who came before me. My name is Mohammed Mahmud, and I'm a very simple man with an open mind. And for that reason, today you're not going to hear about any figures, probably not many facts. You won't hear about PFI, 5-year forward plan. I'm here to kind of ask you a question. Now, I want you guys to all say "I" if you've ever had a question in your life. So if you've ever had a question in your life, say "I."
Aye.
If you're currently still awake in the room, say "I."
Aye.
If you appreciate babies and happiness, say "I." If you're thinking, why is this guy asking us to say "I," say "I." It's odd, isn't it? We tend to ask the question why when something's odd or funny or new. And as Naeem said earlier, at one point before medical school, we had to answer the question why, right? Why medicine? I mean, some actually had to answer the question, others just prepared for it for the interview. Trust me, I know. The one that I didn't hear from the last talk is the usual answer, which is, because I love science and I like to help people. And trust me, because I do these interviews still, that is still what you hear. Hands up if you think that answer has changed for you. That you love science and you like to help people. Will that be the full answer of why you come to med school every day? It's not. The people are shaking their heads, some of them. Their hands are staying firmly by their sides. So it's a shame that we've stopped asking the question why. And I beg you, when you start to work, I want you guys to start asking the question why. Why am I doing this? Why am I studying medicine? Why am I practicing as a doctor? And I promise you, you'll forget to ask the question why. When I started working, F1 Dr Mo. I was really happy about it. You know, this is it. 6 years of training. This is my moment. You know, I was probably more happy because everyone around me who wasn't from medical school was really happy. They were like, you're a doctor, you're going to save lives. And they had no understanding what F1s were about. But still, I was happy. And I thought, you know, I was thinking to myself, why do I want to do this? And I thought, well, because I want to be skilled. I want to be accomplished. I want to have earning a living, you know. I want to have some money. I'm going to have some kind of dignity about what I do. Those were my initial reasons why. Somewhere clouded between when I started and when I started working. Completely different. I had this idea that I'd be something special, I'd be skilled in one area. And then I started, and my first job was a gynecology F1. I mean, everyone's got their subjects at medical school they like, yeah? This wasn't the one that I thought I'd start with, but that was my first job. It was a gynae oncology job. And within the first couple of weeks, I was a honorary secretary. Okay? I'm not trying to destroy James here, but I was an honorary secretary. I was a glorified admin for everyone who's above you, which is everyone, including everyone. I'm serious. Even the caterers that come round, you get out of their way when they need to make an order. You work for everyone. You do everything for everyone. In fact, the chief of medicine started the talk. He said to all the F1s, goes, right, anyone else walks in, they're not allowed. Shut the door. Listen, everyone, you're all F1s, but actually, I just want you to know you're a glorified biro. Okay? And at which point he goes, but you can't use a blue one. That was it. Yeah? And when you start your career, and I've got this why, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and then I'm working these jobs, and I'm coming home every day, and I'm like, and everyone's still happy for me. Oh, you're a doctor, but I thought, I don't feel like I'm achieving my why. I'm not picking up skills by writing the discharge summaries of the real doctors who've done the work, treated the patients, and then I summarize their work. It felt very strange. And I very quickly started to lose hope about me achieving my why. And it's because I realized that my why has to be greater than me. Your reason has to be greater than you. Okay? Because you give up on yourself too easily. Why I want to practice medicine as a doctor and why I wake up in the morning, they had to come together. Okay? They had to be the same thing. I want to help everyone I meet improve their life in some way. So for me, that meant the staff working in the hospitals, and that also meant the patients. I want to make something better for patients, not just today or the day they leave, every day that continues for the future. I wanted to do something greater than myself. Okay? And then I started realizing that is why I work for this. That is why I'm here. Because I have something about me. And then the second you ask why, you start to see your vision. You start to regain that sight. Suddenly waking up in the morning, coming in as the guy in the F1, you know, here I am, to do the discharge summary and whatnot. It didn't matter anymore because I could see I could see the end point. Whoever I meet in whatever way, I had to help them in some way. It made my role feel a lot more wholesome. It gave me a vision of where I wanted to go. So I had my moment of realization. Yeah? I suddenly can see. I'm like, all you have to do is ask the question why, and then you're back in the game. And I don't know why, no pun intended, we forget to ask that question. But we do. Day to day, life goes on, you wake up, you're annoyed about the last person because you went home 6 o'clock because you were an hour late because someone made you do some work because the other doctor didn't do it. And you start getting rattled in day-to-day activities of working as a doctor. And you stop forgetting to ask the question, why? Even though at medical school you guys are achieving amazing things. I mean, you're all doing your own, amazing activities outside of your profession now, and you did it as well beforehand, as Naeem said. But you just stop asking it when you get distracted by work. So, now you know why, the next step is easy, right? Yeah? It's clear as day. I know why, I want to help people. I've got a vision. The next question is, but what do I do next? Yeah? Say aye if you agree. The next question is, but what do I do next? Say aye. Yeah? That's the next question. You think, all right, here I am. I've got a vision. But now, how do I get there? What do I do next? What area do I start with? What do I face as a challenge? I mean, I told you guys, I loved a lot of things in medicine. I'm the kind of guy who likes everything I studied, probably. Right? I enjoyed every aspect. Nearly every aspect. What do I do in my gynae job as an F1? You guys are all talking about leadership and management. What do I do? I realised that it didn't matter if I didn't care about this subject. In fact, my why was so important that this, scrap it, it doesn't matter. I probably could be interested in the subject. So I started looking at every aspect of my job. Now, at this stage, I was only 15 days in being a doctor, 2 weeks in, right? Which is probably more like saying 15 days post-medical student. Probably a more accurate way of how you feel at the time. And then within those 15 days, I looked at a few things. The ward environment. Now, we had this lovely ward clerk. Her name was Yvonne. I think that doesn't give away her confidentiality. We don't know where she's working. But she turned 70 in about a month of me joining. And she was coming every day. She's got really bad osteoarthritis. And she had to pick up these cases from one side to another. And she had to move everything around. She was continually struggling to do her job. And everyone would just watch her. And I thought, I know what I'll do. I'm an inspirational leader, manager in my head. There was a lack of local guidelines. When a patient came in with suspected ovarian torsion, we had to use a certain type of antibiotic. We didn't have a local guideline for that. There's a national guideline. There wasn't a local guideline. I created 3 guidelines, which is what the consultant took 3 months to do in the weekend. Yeah? Why? Because I'm crazy. I'm from Imperial College. I know you guys. You know me as well. You're all the same. You do some extraordinary things in a night. But for some reason, you always leave it to one night. You just refuse to work through the year. You all know, you go, yeah, I've got good potential, but, I'm just cool like that. It's cool not to work. Yeah, I did my exams in a few days. Yeah, I mean, he took 5, I took 4. There's some kind of pride in this. But the second you've got that vision and that belief, you start doing things. I looked at the ward round checklist. Now, this is at the time when WHO checklist just came out. And we were using them. I was on the trial ward using this to be established for all the ward. And I realised there's a couple of questions missing, but also every time I did it, I had to stick it in the notes. I created the form that goes in the OBS folder where you don't have to make a sticker per day, but in fact you can use the same one for the next 2 weeks because it's got nothing, just like an OBS chart, if you've seen one. I made that in a day. It looked better than the original. So I mean, that was in about 2 weeks after this, and in 30 days, I changed everything. Well, I changed some things. Okay, I'm actually telling a lie. I actually changed nothing. I was in trouble the next day for changing the ward layout. I had the matron call me in and say, listen, love, this is my ward, and you don't move a single thing unless you talk to me. Yeah? I was in trouble for trying to help Yvonne. Looked at Yvonne at the time, and she just turned around. Didn't give me any attention. She was thanking me for a whole week. Turned around. Clerking pro forma, consultant goes, right, okay. The thing about this is that we've just had that meeting that we can change this or not. So I'll bring this up next year. What? It's ready. Bring it up next year because there's some kind of formality. Local guidelines. The specialist sister in charge was trying to help the consultant make these. And she went, yeah, you send me those, but this is a bit above you at the moment, so we'll take it now. They just took it. They took all 3 guidelines. My name was gone because I saw it. It's on the desktop. My name was gone from there. And they took it as their own project. They still stalled for it for about a week or 2. Ward round checklist. I was completely ignored about my suggestion. They just spent so much money on these stickers. You're not going to get someone to come and change them, right? I kind of died a little inside. Yeah? And I just stopped. Suddenly this kind of, inspired pre-medical student who got through all these things and challenges, watching continual videos on Facebook about people who, you have to motivate yourself and they lose all their limbs and they still do better than I do in my life and all this, that was me. I was one of those guys. And then I wasn't. I was stopped. Everything stopped for me. I had no inspiration to continue. I felt a little trapped. I had my job, and you'll have this. You all have this. I mean, you have it now. But in my scenario, as an F1, on one side I was told, I'm an F1. This is your job. What was I? A glorified biro. Yeah? And that's what I had to do to make sure I continue to get paid. Yeah? And the GMC don't strike me off. And on the other side, there was this limit, this wall, where I didn't have access to resources. The right people with expertise I couldn't get hold of. I didn't have any control of anything I did, so I made a change and someone would take it. You guys felt that before? Yeah? Yeah, I'm sure you have. We all do. And it felt like I was trapped. And someone was trying to tell me, just stop trying. And so then I did what you're meant to do, and you'll learn about this. You go and meet your educational supervisors. Yeah? That's what you're meant to say in the SJT. When it comes up, it goes, there's a problem. The first thing you're meant to do is speak to your educational supervisor. So I went to see my educational supervisor. Again, no names. Please don't explore this either. That'll be very bad. So I said, listen, I'm like this kind of, I tried to explain myself. I said, I'm a doctor, but at the same time, I want to do more than my role. I'm here for 2 years. I want to establish myself. I want to give everything I have to improve everything around me. She said, listen, Mo, F1 and F2 are so you can achieve your basic competencies. Okay? People struggle to do that. You focus on yourself. You need to make sure you get 3 CBDs. I was like, what? That's the kind of stuff you do in medical school on the last day of your derm round. You go around and go, can you sign me, can you sign me, can you sign me? That's your role as an F1. So your learning is so easy. And it's like, you need to tick this, this, and this. And that's what you need to do. If you start getting distracted with other things, you're not going to be able to cope. She'd never met me before. This was my first meeting. I started to think, you know what? I am just an F1. I don't have anything else. I probably should know my limits. Right? So I walked out of there, and then I had another moment of realization. I knew my why, but my what I had to do was the wrong, I concentrated on the wrong bits. Because I tried, but I realized there was limits to everything I was trying to do. What I had to do, and what the problem was at my trust, was there was a problem with the idea of control, of autonomy. There's a problem with the ability to innovate quickly. There's a problem with knowing the right people and getting access to them. There was a problem with being at the front line but making decisions rather than the people at the back. In the policyholders, the people in charge, the managers. I was there to change the system entirely. I had to change the whole system and the whole culture. So I was really happy with myself. I walked out there thinking, I've got my why. You agree? I've got my why? Yeah? Got my what? Yeah? It was so clear to me that it didn't even matter how. I didn't need to think about how. The 90 and 9, so there's about 99 of you here, or 100. The 90 and 9 are with dreams content. But the hope of the world made new is the 100th man or woman who is grimly bent on making his or her dream come true. Okay? That's Edgar Allan Poe, and that's a poem that I've loved since I was a medical student. So it did drive me to do more. You guys, everyone here, sometimes we fear everyone else doing stuff. Everyone here is a dreamer, and everyone here has come for the right reasons. Some people aren't dreaming, fine. Let them be. They just love their reality. They love, just this idea of nothing will get better. That's great. But most of you guys here want to do better. Is that right? If it's right, say aye. Aye. Yeah? You guys want to do something. You want to improve something. But only one of the 99 is going to bother to work hard and do what these guys have done to get to their dreams. It's about hard work. Now that hard work isn't just hard work. It's working on yourself. So that's what leadership's about. You start to develop yourself. So the first question of developing yourself is you get to know yourself, right? Yeah? That's leadership. You get to know yourself. That's the first thing you do. You know what question you ask yourself? Why? God, we're a step ahead, aren't we? We're doing really well here. I'm glad you guys are all listening. So the first step is you ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this? Why is this around me? You start asking the question, why? And then you start asking the question, what? The question how comes later. So the first thing is hard work on yourself. The second thing is hard work about becoming aware of the situation you're in. Now you're going to think I'm a very sad person. The most boring thing in any hospital you ever work in, because you guys can all go to your clinical attachments and go to it, go to the internet page. You're not allowed on normal internet. It's the intranet. Yeah? It's this 18th or 17th century cyber world that no one from anywhere around the world who understands IT would use as an interface. But we seem to use it in a hospital. And it has the most boring information on it about the trust, about the NHS, about what we're doing, with a picture of something that some patient is smiling and shaking hands with someone with, yeah? And in there somewhere, there's a lot of information. I sat down, 30 days in, I read every single page of every single link, yeah? Which I then went into some of the links, and they had published all the meetings they had at the executive level. I read every single meeting minute, yeah? I didn't know what I was doing it for, but I just didn't want there to be anything that was published that I didn't know about. I then read all the financial reports of every term. I suddenly knew all the consultants that hadn't done their financial reports. I knew who was wasting money, who wasn't. I suddenly walked around and go, yeah, I know him. Yeah, he lost quite a lot last quarter. I felt empowered by the worst intranet system ever. But I worked hard on myself, and that's boring. But I did that. Now, innovation is about a lot of hard work. And on the other side, it's about timing. Timing is really annoying. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you're on the wrong time, innovation doesn't happen. Okay? Sometimes good ideas need to come at the same time. So the guy who made the app, the ophthalmologist, if Apple weren't around, where would his app be, right? It's good. Innovation works when you have the idea at the right time. So it's a combination of things coming together. So I sat down, after having read the 18th century board of everything that had happened in the hospital, and I knew everything I could. I worked on myself, tried to understand why I was doing this. And I sat down. I went to the beach because I was working at a seaside. Again, I don't want to give away where I was working, but it'll come. It came to me. I just thought, put all this stuff together. I sat down, pen and paper. If I can encourage you to do that. Pen and paper. And I wrote down my idea from start to finish. This is how I felt when I left that supervisor. I did it on my own little idea. Yeah? I made a plan if I was hit by the bus. It was called If I Was Hit by the Bus Plan. Yeah? And it could be in the first term, it could be in the end of last year. I knew who was going to take over, how it would work, how it would integrate into the hospital. I then, because I'd read everything and Googled everyone who worked in the trust, I knew all the executive board, so I knew everyone I had to get involved, the key stakeholders. I did everything I possibly could, and it was all sat in this file. And guess what, when I tried to bring it up, I had the same problems getting through as I did the first time. Until we had this one meeting in which there was all these junior doctors and nurses and other people, and they're all talking, and it's kind of this open forum. They didn't really know why they were coming. And someone goes, listen, it's all not working in a hospital. I feel like we don't have control. And everyone's giving these bits and pieces of ideas of what to do. I was biting my lip. For 45 minutes, I didn't say anything. And the conclusion was, well, we don't really have an answer. Maybe we should just keep talking about it. And I thought, yeah, if there was a good omen, this is probably it, right? I should speak about it now. And then I said, well, there could be a kind of answer for this, maybe, related to this. And then I went off on a 20-minute spiel about my idea, which I'm going to save you guys from, but I'll tell you a bit more about. And they all kind of looked at me and said, this doesn't sound like you've just, it's not come out of nothing. It sounds a bit detailed and planned. And I had a whole idea. It's called the Innovation Forum, which was tagged IF. I even made a logo. Before we even started, there was a logo for it. And they were like, okay. This meeting then went on this kind of email to some random people I didn't know. One of them was one of the chief execs there, and said, who is this guy? I want to meet him. And I was like, this is it. This is when hard work comes with good timing. And suddenly I had a chance to meet them. But remember, if you don't prepare, this is where you lose out. Because I'd done everything, I was ready for this timing. I still came in. I bought a new case folder and I put everything together. I had a presentation. He just wanted a coffee. I turned up with a laptop and different folders. I had it done as a Prezi and a PowerPoint. Okay? I was ready for anything in case there's a technical failure. I'd emailed it before as well, just so he knows. And I presented it to him, and he was just like, you know what he said to me? He listened to me like this. He's really smart. This guy's called Tony Kelly, and he's been my mentor, as we mentioned earlier. He said to me, Mo, in this really kind of evil, sinister look. I said, yeah. He said, what do you want from this? I said, what do you mean, what do I want from this? He goes, is this your kind of baby? Is this what you want full control? Who's going to be leading this? And then I remembered my why. It was so simple. I said, I don't care who leads this. You can take this from me if you want. Yeah? It's just that I've got a 4-month thinking advantage over you right now. I've been planning for this and I'm ready to do it. I will help do it if you want me to. He looked at me and he said, all right, I want you to be in charge of this. And I met up with the chief exec. And then I was the first junior doctor at this random enclosed forum talking to random people in this room who started debating my idea. And essentially every single point I planned for, they went, yeah, let's go for it, let's try it. And so we had the Innovation Forum. So now on the 17th century intranet, there was my idea. The first thing you click on, you see it there. And essentially, I'm going to very briefly tell you the system, how it worked. It was an event that happened every 90 days, but also an application process. So anyone in the trust had an application process. They'd write it just like an abstract, very succinct, not too many words, give their idea. So suddenly, porters, pharmacists, junior doctors, nurses, caterers had an idea about their ideas, and it would go straight to the executive board, of which would look at the ideas, and they would come to present it, because we wanted people to come up with solutions, not talk about problems. Yeah? And so, for example, in the first 3 months, we had 45 ideas come into our inbox from the trust, all from frontline staff who had the same problems I had to start with. 28 applications, 17 we selected because a lot of them didn't have much substance to it. 8 were implemented and 4 became adapted and implemented. So an example of them, where one of the F1s said, listen, I come here every day, I do my phlebotomy count, and then I come back and the phlebotomist says, I haven't taken such and such, but we don't know about it. So it turns 4 p.m, we've got no bloods for the patient, we can't discharge them, and then I have to come, and anyone who's a doctor will know that's a major problem. He decided to make up this initiative. It was called the Green Dot Project, okay? Another example was guidelines. We had problems with guidelines in our trust. We created something called the Black Book. This was a junior doctor led. They wrote every guideline, every consultant checked the guideline in the local area. This has become national now. We've published it. That's the chief exec sitting up there, along with the chief of nursing. Okay, that's Tony Kelly, the guy. These are all the execs, and they would sit there at the front of every idea like a dragon is den. Apart from, there wasn't a I'm buying in or not with money, because money wasn't usually needed. What you don't realize is most good innovation doesn't even need the money. Okay? A good idea will be adopted very quickly, and then if it works well, it spreads and the money comes with it. So we asked the question why, and you've got this world vision. You ask what, and you'll find what. It's in every opportunity you look for. When you start working, and before you start working as a medical student now. And then how? Well, we know how. You've always known how to do things. You're just lazy to do them, right? So why are we keeping excuses up? Some people say, I'm not like these guys. I'm not prize winners. I don't academic. Shall I tell you about Imperial College first year? I scored the 3rd lowest in that first mock. Yeah, I got 13 out of 100. Yeah, and then up comes the prof that day. 3 months later, starts with the drill. Goes, so a monkey would get 25 in this exam. I.e., if you randomly selected while eating a banana, yeah, you'd do better than I did. You like double the points I got, right? You can get through academic work. Everyone's been there. Everyone's had failure. You can get through that. Publications, don't complain about all this kind of stuff. You can work hard. People still... Last week, I was at a talk of which a consultant, which is now a consultant, talked about his publications during his PhD, which he took from me, yeah? So my 4th year BSc was taken from me and written up by someone else, because I wasn't allowed to, apparently. I didn't understand how the system worked, and I begged for it, wasn't allowed to. And then there I was, 4 years later, sitting at the conference and goes, so, while you wait for your PhD to come up, you could do these kind of publications. And there's my publications, 2 of them. I've had that stolen from me as well, but it doesn't stop you. That's not an excuse. There's no point talking about the past. Anything. Family, there's no point. Naeem's got a family. He's had a kid, I think it was a year ago, 2 years ago. This guy's doing incredible amounts of stuff, and he's still doing all that stuff. If you want to think about excuses, you're not going to get anywhere. There's no time for excuses. You've got your questions. And you've got the order of the questions, okay? The next step was when. I didn't need to tell you when. When do you think you should start doing all of this? Wait till you qualify? No. When do you think you should start? Now. Yeah, now. You think you have no access to the hospital? You have no access to anything you want to do? You have no access to... For God's sake, if I could take the time back, I would start now. I would go from a medical student. For some reason, I don't know why, but there's this... You just feel you have time as a medical student, and your only worry is passing that exam. That's about 8 months ago, and 7 months, and 6 months. But your fear remains constant throughout that whole time for some reason. It doesn't change. Start now. I beg you to start now. So I felt, safe. I felt warm, felt healthy, had a job, but something was missing, right? At the start, I thought that I had to look for that missing piece, that answer. And then I started realizing that it was actually asking the right questions again. The questions I forgot to ask for a long time. And now every single time I'm stalling, I see no progress in my life, I start thinking, what's the point? It's because I've stopped asking the questions. And then I ask the questions again. And now every time I ask the question, how, I realize that how is what leads to mastery. How is what you become skilled at. It becomes your special thing. How you become a cardiologist is because you learn to do if you're an interventionist, you learn to do your catheterizations. How is your mastery, the skill that you adopt. I realize that what you do becomes what you have control of. What you choose, what opportunities you choose to look at and take becomes your autonomy. what you control. And then why you do something, as Naeem touched on earlier, is the purpose behind something. And when you start bringing these three questions together, when you have mastery, autonomy, and purpose, or MAP, MAP, is what I remember it as, then you start to engage with the world, you start to do things, you start to work. And as a leader, the first step is for you to do that yourself. And then a leader does this with everyone else. So every single person you meet, and that's what we do in the hospitals, but that's what you could do now in your societies. You meet someone, you go, what are you looking for? What's your why? What area do you want to take a skill in? What do you want control of? And how do you want to do it? What kind of skills do you want to adopt? And then if everyone starts engaging in these three areas, you start to see revolution, you start to see change, you start to see a culture shift. Those are the three areas that I worked on. So, if you want to look beyond the stethoscope, as this title of this conversation, of this topic is today, if you want to look beyond the stethoscope, you need to start asking these questions. Again, out of respect to the Medical Leadership Society, to my humbling guests that came before me who've achieved this stuff already, and to all of you guys coming here, thank you for joining. My name is Mohammed. I'm a simple man with an open mind.